It is with the deepest personal regret that I found myself compelled to take this action. General MacArthur is one of our greatest military commanders, but the cause of world
fitness
is much more important than any individual.
Hello, what is up, fitness fans and beginners to fitness? Welcome to another episode of Redcat Fitness. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about training for beginners and beginner mistakes. So, this is for beginners, but not only. I'm going to talk about the specific types of trainings you can do for fitness, the fitness centers. So even if you are bored of your routine or maybe think you're doing something wrong, I'm going to tell you about what the types of exercises and what their benefits are. So here we go. Are you ready to summarize what we're going to talk about? Here's the outline. I'm going to tell you about the types of fitness centers there are out there. I'm going to talk about stretching, why that's important. I'm going to talk about cardio and what are the benefits, outcomes, what's important about cardio exercise, and resistance training. So that's weightlifting. What are the outcomes of weightlifting? And then I'm going to tell you about the beginner mistakes I've seen in gyms and just people doing stuff wrong and just wasting their time. So I'm going to tell you how to be more efficient, how to not waste your time, how to do things, start off well with the right type of training for you. So this is going to be a good podcast for you to decide what training is right for you. And then that's gonna be it. But before I start, please share this with anybody that doesn't exercise, with somebody that you think is depressed, that could use some activity in their life, some motion, some type of beneficial fitness I'm gonna tell you about. So here we go. Let's start. And this is episode on training for beginners, the description of exercise and training equipment, being beginner mistakes. All right, when you decide to exercise, which I hope you do already, if you don't, here are some of the reasons, and I can try to relate going back a long time ago when I started training, and my first initial thoughts were when I was in school, in high school, and middle school. You have the recreation time, and most people like that. I think there's some kids here and there that don't like their gym time, their recess. I remember, some people would just be like slacking off, would barely make it into their gym clothes that are required for schools in the US, and others would change and just do things with very little effort and energy. So that's just, I don't know, maybe they are sad or depressed or don't have friends, but there's a reason you start training in school. It's just to give you that exercise, and that also goes along the lines of those kids that would have like attention deficit because they have tons of energy and want to do physical activity just so they don't have to sit all day in class. So those are like the polar opposites of, I remember. I was one of those guys that would exercise. I wouldn't mind. I didn't have complaints about exercises, but I wasn't that great either. I was a little chubby kid, and I wasn't the best. I was picked on, but I still liked the exercise. I remember liking kickball. I remember liking volleyball. I remember doing some other team sports, even though I was not good at it. But now fast forward to like university, college, and exercising. So I had more freedom there, and I also took a class that was, I think one type of fitness class was required for my curriculum. And with that class, I was learning more, and I took the more initiative to learn about fitness and exercises. But my motivation was just seeing some, muscular fit guys like football players, and they're becoming popular. So I wanted to feel like that, but I didn't exactly want to play football or go through the same type of training. I just kind of want to do it at my own time. So you can do that too. You can just exercise and get your fitness goals on your own time instead of having to participate in some sport. Okay, so now that we summarized discussing about the history, my history and the motivation, here are the types of fitness centers out there. You can work out at home or you can work out outdoors. So there are the home types of exercises using resistant bands and whatever else you can buy for your home, which I don't recommend for beginners because that just requires you to it's like if you go to the gym, you just have to change your mindset. There's a psychological effect of your environment. If you exercise at home as a beginner, you're not going to stay motivated to do that in a regular routine. And then there are aerobic centers. So the aerobic centers can have things like spin class, kickboxing, Zumba, just the biking is same as spin class. And those aerobic classes are good for cardio. Then you have yoga centers. Yoga center is another type of fitness, which is stretching and mobility movements. So I don't have a lot of experience with that, but it's just one thing to do. So if you do yoga or if you like yoga, that's also good. I support that. Then there's strength training gyms. There are powerlifting gyms, which specialize in powerlifting versus strength training. Strength training is just your regular type of gym, whereas the powerlifting has specific exercises like the power lifts, the squats, and the deadlifts. And then there's some like luxury athletic clubs where they're more of a lifestyle thing, where people go there to socialize and exercise. And the cost of those, they come at a premium. They have little more features and amenities like pools, saunas, fancy gyms. Fancy bathrooms. And yeah, so if you go to any of those types of fitness centers, that's better than nothing. You definitely start from signing up and going to any of those places. So let's move on to stretching. I stretched a long time, mainly because I learned this through some karate lessons I had, or more actually it was Taekwondo. I did have a few months of Taekwondo training, which is just the Korean version of karate. And I remember there's a lot of stretching we had to do, and that would help with kicks. So even though we don't kick now, we don't need it on a daily basis, but stretching is good for your muscles and your ligaments and your joints to help you get that full range of motion. Because, for example, if you're walking, you have limited range of motion. If you're running, you have some more range of motion, but it's still not the full potential of like how your legs can move. So that's why stretching is important. And if you're doing squats, you're gonna get sore, and stretching prevents the soreness. There's that lactic acid built up that trainers talk about. So it's recommended that you do stretching either before or after your workout. I do stretching. I do quick stretches after between sets. And then I spend maybe once a week like about an hour of stretching and doing like mobility movements that really help me feel better. It's one thing is about stretching is it just feels good for me. It's got like slight pain. If you're stretching too hard, then it'll be painful. But if you're stretching and like slowly pushing yourself, then it should feel good for you. Just to summarize that, stretching has the outcomes of reducing cramps. It improves your flexibility, improves your muscle growth, and loosens muscle to get the full range of motion. So one of the reasons you stretch after a workout or between sets is because you want to increase your range of motion and prevent cramps. The next topic is cardio equipment. So when you're doing cardio, there are certain outcomes for that, and you increase your heart rate, you sweat. So those are things that happen with cardio. The cardio equipment, you have treadmills, stair climbers, the stepper, elliptical trainer, bikes, also known as air bikes, and then the T-bar row. So all of those are designed to increase your heart rate, and the variances between those is like what muscle groups they work and what how much impact they have on your joints. So let's say if you're running on a treadmill, you're going to have more impact on your knees. So if you have issues with your knees or you prefer to get less impact on your knees, then you should try a stair climber or elliptical trainer. Elliptical trainer is known as having the least amount of impact because how you're working that is your feet stay stationary and your hands hold the bars, and then you move your feet and legs in counterclockwise direction or the opposite directions. If you do biking, that's also similar, except it just works the leg in one direction, and that has very little impact when you're doing that. But both of those things make you sweat. And then with the stair climber, that's good because it works more of your upper legs and your glutes. And yeah, it's gonna be good to climb steps using a stair climber. It burns slightly more calories than the treadmill, and yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Now the T-bar row is like rowing in a boat. It works more of your upper body, and it is not it's strong resistance training on the upper body if you do it quickly, but it's mainly as like a warm-up cardio type of exercise, not designed as a resistance type of training. So that summarizes the main cardio style equipments, and the outcomes you get out of those is you get to achieve your target heart rate, and you want to have target heart rate to exercise that will burn calories, that will make you sweat, and it's just good for your cardiovascular system to stress it a little bit. So to get your target heart rate, there is a formula, and it is 220 minus your age. That equals your maximum heart rate. It's just the average. It's like a rule of thumb, a guideline, not exactly specific. There are other variances coming to come up with this formula. So, don't take this perfectly as a perfect formula. It's just a guideline. So it's 220. You subtract your age, and that should give you your maximum heart rate. Now, to get your heart rate, you can count the pulses on your neck using your index finger and the middle finger. Don't use your thumb because the thumb has its own pulse, so you might get confused and you might not exactly feel it. But if you use your index finger and middle finger and place it to the right or left of your trachea, that's your throat, and move it around until you feel that pulse. And what you do is you count to, you need a clock, you need a stopwatch for this, because you're going to count the pulses for 30 seconds. So you look at the watch, the stopwatch, and look at it for 30 seconds, and then within those 30 seconds you count the pulses, and then you can multiply that by 2 times, and that will give you your the pulse rate per minute. And for just another guideline, rule of thumb is for having a good resting pulse is around 60 to 70 beats per minute. That's considered healthy for athletes. If it's under 50 beats per minute, then that's a very good low heart rate for people that are athletic. And when you count, when you're exercising, you're gonna have a higher heart rate because you want to achieve that target heart rate. And the additional benefits would be sweating out toxins out of your body, your physical mobility, that you're gonna have some exercise improves your heart, the health of your heart, and improves the low resting rate of your heart. It burns calories, good for shrinking your stomach. So if you have like a beer belly, if you have a big gut, you're doing cardio, it's just going to help you reduce the size of the gut. Now, I'm not talking about just losing weight completely, but it will definitely help if you're not doing any exercise at all. Cardio also gets me energized. Some people, they say it doesn't get them energized, but technically if you're like sedentary, don't do much, doing exercises should energize you for at least a few hours. And the other benefit is improving your focus. So having a daily exercise or just having a frequent habit of exercising should improve your ability to focus. And breathing. The last thing I remember is it improves breathing. If you have breathing issues and you're doing cardiovascular exercises, you're going to increase your heart rate, and that also increases your breathing. And if you breathe in quickly or deeply, more shallow, you get more oxygen in your body, and that's great. That's what you want. And the oxygen is going to replenish your blood cells. It's going to help you feel better and healthier. There you go. So now let's talk about resistance training. With resistance training, it's also known as weightlifting. And here are the things you can do, the type of exercises, and then I'll tell you about the outcomes. With resistance training, there are pulleys, there are bars using the body weight, dumbbells, barbells, squat racks, Smith machines, and kettlebells. So with pulleys, those are the pulleys are the equipment that use like ropes and other cables to pull weight from the opposite side. It could also be just like rubber bands if it's a smaller piece of equipment. But those are the types of exercise, the equipment you see in the gym that's like combined. You can do several exercises in one piece of equipment. Now about bars. Bars can be stationary or bars can be loose, like barbells to lift the weight, and the weight could be also your body weight. So like calisthenics is known for using bars for training, and say that's like as simple as doing a pull-up. If you have a bar above your head, you can do pull-ups. If you have a bar around your waist, you can do dips. And that's one type of way to do resistance training using your body weight. Then you have dumbbells. Dumbbells are good for isolating your arms, doing specific exercises for isolation, as well as compound, but with not as much combined total weight as you can do with a barbell. Now then the barbells, those are the type of weights that you can apply for powerlifting. With barbells, you can do stuff off the rack, you can do it from the ground, and the exercises can be they can be a deadlift, they can be a squat, and they can be a bench press, they can be incline or decline bench press. But those barbells are long, they're not easy to carry, and it can be easily off balance. So that's why people place clamps on each side, and the positioning on your body is very important. So with barbells, it takes some practice and a lot of balance to get that. But with barbells, you can also get the maximum power, maximum effort, and maximum weight for resistance training. Then you have squat racks and Smith machines, where similar. They have usually an isolated barbell that goes in direction that's isolated, like up and down, it's vertical, with very little bending in the angle. So it's usually just goes straight up and straight down, and that's easier for you to do if you don't have someone to spot you. If you just go in the gym by yourself, you can have the squat racks have pins at different points to adjust to your height, so you don't have to get like a stand and stand up before you lift the bar, or you can get specific low height when you're squatting and you don't want to drop the bar. You can have those pins on each side to stop it and help you prevent injury. So those are good to work if you're working out yourself. But remember that because of that support with the Smith machine, you have reduced amount of movement, and you can't, or like your weight that you push on the Smith machine is going to be higher than actual loose barbell. So because when you're using that loose barbell, your supporting muscles also work harder than using the Smith machine. And then let's talk about kettlebells. Kettlebells are another type of resistance training exercise that I recommend for mobility movements, and they have a variety of exercises that's unique to kettlebells, that's different because of the positioning and the changes of center of gravity versus dumbbell. So Either way, if you use barbells or kettlebells or dumbbells, as long as you start and you make it a routine, that's a good way to get going. Now let's talk about the outcomes of these trainings you can do with resistance trainings. You get obviously increased strength. Your muscles will grow, so you get bigger in size. As long as you also have a good diet, you can definitely improve your posture, like me, like I did, using the right type of exercises and focusing on muscular imbalances and which side could be stronger than the other. So you can improve that using resistance training. Improves your agility. So if you are susceptible to like tripping or you lose your balance often, you can use resistance training to build your supporting muscles and make you less likely to get injured and improve your agility. So with the training, you have less likely chance of getting injured if you just like slip or fall, because your muscles be stronger. They can catch you better. They can prevent some breaking of bones if you have your really good muscular strength. And that's probably one of the best reasons to work out. So another thing is relieving of stress. If you're exercising, you're going to relieve stress. Any type of exercise, not just the resistance training, but it definitely helps with relieving stress. That's why you see people sometimes, if they're angry at the gym because they're probably relieving a lot of stress. Also, as like cardio, you can improve your breathing if you do it right. You know how to breathe. But with resistance training, you use proper breathing, and that can help you too. Because if you're pushing the weight, you should be your air should be blowing out. And if you're releasing the weight or like going down with gravity, you should be inhaling. And when you're exhaling, that's when you're pushing the weight away. And then you can burn fat and look good. So those are the last two benefits I can think of with resistance trainings. You can definitely look better, and I hope you do that, because who doesn't want to look good, right? So now, let's go over some of the beginner mistakes that I've seen. And it can be intimidating for people when they're working out for the first time or just beginning. I understand that, and people are worried. You have a lot of this stupid internet memes of people taking videos on their phones of someone doing stuff wrong. Come on, guys, just if you, instead of mocking them, can you just at least provide them some help? Like ask them, hey, I noticed you're doing this differently. Can I offer a suggestion? I mean, don't make fun of them. Just try to help them out, because they're in a gym for a reason. If they're working out in a funny way and they're doing something wrong, you should just really consider, like, make an example. If you think you're big and bad, you think you can do stuff better, just be polite and say, hey, excuse me, I think there's a better way to do this, and can I show you if you don't mind? I don't want you to injure yourself. So yeah, if you get anything out of this podcast, is that don't feel intimidated if you're going to do something wrong, because you can likely even just ask somebody. If you see someone fit already in the gym and they're next to the machine you're working on, you can just say, hey, excuse me, I'm new here, I'm just starting to exercise. Am I doing this right? I've had people ask me that, and I don't mind taking a minute or two to show them. And that's part of the gym life. You should help people out, and people might help you. Ask for a spot. If someone's walking by, just be like, hey, excuse me, can you spot me? I'm trying to lift more weight. This is my max. And it's like 99% of the time, people will help you. Just if they're on their headphones or listening to the music, you should just tap them on the shoulder, because they might not be able to hear you. So here are the beginner mistakes I've seen that are common in the gym. Is long breaks between sets. I see someone doing a set. They may be straining, they may be doing that set fine, but then they'll take like 3 to 5 minutes to rest. And you shouldn't do that, because first thing is you're not going to maintain your target heart rate, and you're not going to break a sweat. If you do one tough workout, one tough repetition or a couple of reps, and then take a break for a couple of minutes, then you're not straining those muscles. So the ideal break time between sets is a minute to 2 minutes. Don't go over that. Then the second mistake is overtraining. If you're at the gym too long, if you do like an hour of cardio and then an hour of weightlifting, or if you do like 2 classes in a row, like cycling class and then a Zumba class, yeah, I mean, you're going to be burning more calories. But if you're doing this often, first, it's not a very efficient use of your time, and you can definitely overtrain. You might be sore, and then the next day you won't work out, so you're not going to get in the mood of making it a habit to work out often. Then the third mistake is not drinking enough water. I don't see people drinking enough water, and then I see some people laughing when they bring like a gallon of water to the gym. That's actually good. It's a good idea. You have to stay hydrated, and when you're feeling dehydrated, then that's too late. You're already reducing your chance of having a good workout and getting a good pump, getting a good exercise, a good lift. So always stay hydrated. Drink a liter of water before the gym, and then during your workouts, between sets, I almost always have a sip of water or go to the water fountain. So drink plenty of water. And another mistake is doing cardio then resistance training in one session. So if you are doing cardio, you have goals, you want to burn calories, right? But if you're doing resistance training, why do you do that? To build muscle. You want to build muscle, and if you think about it, if you're doing cardio, so what happens during cardio? You use your energy to burn calories, and the calories that you burned could be better utilized for burning fat during the resistance training. So if you're doing resistance training, you need more energy to lift weights, and then you can do cardio after, but you shouldn't do it in the same session just because you want to have more energy for lifting weights than just running. And you may feel that you have the same energy, but I've made that mistake myself, and over the years I've noticed that when I did cardio first and then I did resistance training, then I wouldn't grow as much as I did then when on days I just strictly did resistance training and dedicated cardio for other days, and definitely reduced the amount of cardio I did. I mean, so I'm not talking about like 5 minutes. If you want to warm up for a few minutes, that's fine. But say like 10, 15, 20 minutes of cardio and then lifting weights, that's really not recommended. So stick to if you get your fitness goals first, figure out what they are, and then follow a fitness plan. Because if you're not sure which one to do, I highly recommend you focus on something and get some guidelines, get some coaching, and fitness plans are highly, highly important to keep you motivated and to get the right, most efficient progress to your fitness goals. So then another mistake I've seen is not stretching, and that means you're just gonna be more sore. You're reducing your mobility, and you're gonna have a higher chance of like a muscle cramp or even have a muscle injury. So stretching is important. I'm emphasizing stretching again, not too much, not too strong, but definitely don't forget to stretch. Another beginner mistake is the limited range of motion for contracting and extensions during your lifts. When you're lifting weights, when you have a short range of motion, that means you're not working your muscle entirely. I also made this mistake when I was younger, years ago. I would just do what other people were doing and be like, hey, yeah, I can lift more weight. I kept adding weight, but then I never realized my muscle's not being fully used. It doesn't seem to be growing, and just the range of motion is important to keep you mobile, to prevent injuries, and to make you stronger overall. Because say if you do a curl and you can lift it all the way to your chest, but then you have a hard time lifting it from when your elbow is completely straight to bend it, then you part of your bicep is weak and then part of it's strong. You want your entire bicep to be strong. So then another mistake is having no workout plans, and that means no workout plans means you may not push yourself. Like many things in life, fitness progress follows a pattern, and the fitness plan is a pattern. You should have some kind of pattern and a way to push yourself, because say if you don't have a plan, you go to the gym, you do say like, I'm going to do 3 sets of this and that, and this is the weight I'm going to use. Chances are, if you're going to feel tired or fatigued, your mind's going to forget about those plan, and you're not going to push yourself as strong. I've also went through this myself. I bought other people's plans. I had coaching from other people, and I noticed significant gains. I noticed improvements when I used plans. And, just when I said pattern, that doesn't mean it's always should be the same. After a few months or so, you should change up plans and always have some kind of variances in your workout plan to keep you motivated, to keep your muscles stimulated, not so they get used to it. And then probably the last mistake, I think, is people worried about other people watching you. This is a beginner mistake, and I'm only guessing this just because I think some people might be watching me or when I'm working out, but really don't worry about it. I mean, everyone's in the gym for the same reasons, and if they're watching you, maybe you look attractive, maybe they like you. It doesn't matter. It just happens. People are bored. What can you do? You can look on your phone, listen to music, or you can look at other people. Obviously, if they're staring too long, it might be weird, but don't worry about it. Chances are that nothing's gonna happen, but who knows? It's just something that people do. People watching, they just watch it. People watching, yeah, that just happens everywhere, not just the gym. All right, y'all, that's the end of the episode. And hit the gym. All right, just do it. To summarize what we talked about, what did I talk about? Types of fitness centers, stretching, cardio equipment, cardio outcomes, resistance training and outcomes, and the beginner mistakes. So now you're no longer a beginner. You know the basics. You know what to do. Hit the gym. Get a plan. And you're off to health and happiness. All right, just do it. If anyone else, that doesn't exercise, and maybe they're depressed, you think they could use some activity in their life, send them this podcast. Just share it with them.
What are we getting?
Thank you, and good night.